Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I was almost going to say Monday, but it is a Tuesday. I'm going to read the next section of When You Reach Me that you need in order to complete your first week of the journal, whether you are a 1 and you're doing the journal entry or you're a 2 and you're doing the response. So I'm just going to quickly kind of backtrack. I always do that when I read. I flip to the page before to read like that, the last paragraph, because then it kind of just kicks it in and kicks in my memory. And then I remember what happened for the first 11 pages. But basically when I read through this, I remember that, I am totally thinking, why can't I think of, now that I think about it, oh, there it is, Mira. So I was like, what is the main character's name? Sorry, So Mira, she is kind of upset at her mom because she had to wait at that convenience store that's down the street instead of, because her mom couldn't pick her up right away. She was stuck at work. So she's kind of annoyed with her mom. And so the convenience store is called Bell's. And she said she likes it at Bell's and da da da. And then they talked about where they were going to hide the spare key next time. So if mom was stuck at work and Mira can just go home and find the spare key. So they said they were going to find it, hide it in the fire hose. And then this last part is where it kind of gets in that mystery, like what? So it said, you asked me to mention the key. If I ever do decide to write you your letter, which I probably won't, this is the story I would tell you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and read for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then that will be it. Make sure you are taking notes. That is the expectation. The speed round. There are two parts of the $20,000 pyramid. Mom calls the first part the speed round because it's all about speed. Contestants try to make their celebrity partners guess 7 common words by giving clues. So if the first word is fork, a contestant might say, you use this to put food in your mouth. Not a spoon, but if he has a brain, which mom says he might not, the celebrity partner would say fork. And then there'll be a ding, and the next word will show up on a little hidden screen. Each team gets 30 seconds for 7 words. Then the little screens swivel around, and it's the celebrity's turn to give the clues to the contestant's turn, and the contestant's turn to guess. Another 7 words, another 30 seconds, then the screens swivel back, and the contestants give the clues again. There are possible 21 points in the speed round. Sorry, I'm going to move this over. There are possible 21 points in the speed round, and a perfect score earns a cash bonus of $2,100. But the most important thing is just to beat the other team, because the team that wins the speed round goes to the winner's circle, and the winner's circle is where the big money is. There isn't a lot of time to practice tonight because it's tenant meeting night. Once a month, the neighbors sit in our living room and complain while mom takes notes in shorthand. Most people don't bother to come. It's always the old folks who don't get asked to go many places and are mad that there isn't more heat. Sal's mom, Louisa, works in a nursing home, and she says old people never get enough heat. After the meetings, during which Mr. Nunzi has usually burned a new hole in our couch with his cigarette, mom always writes a letter to the landlord and sends a copy to some city agency that's supposed to care whether we have hot water, if the lobby door locks, and that the elevator keeps getting stuck between floors. But nothing ever changes. Our doorbell is going to start ringing any minute. Mom is running through a few speed rounds with Richard while I make lemonade from frozen concentrate and open the Oreos. Louisa knocks her regular knock, and I answer the door with the plate of cookies. She takes an Oreo and sighs. She's wearing jeans with her white nurse shoes, which she kicks off by the door. She hates these meetings, but comes out of loyalty to mom. and someone has to watch Mr. Nunsy's cigarette to make sure he doesn't accidentally set our apartment on fire. Lemonade? I ask. I refuse to play waitress during Mom's get-togethers, but I'll pour Louisa a drink anytime. Lemonade sounds lovely. She follows me to the kitchen. Just as I put the glass in her hand, the doorbell buzzes for about a minute straight. Why do you have to hold the button down forever? Old people, Louisa says, as if she can read my mind. They're so used to being ignored. She grabs 2 more cookies and goes to answer the door. Louisa doesn't normally eat what she calls processed foods, but she says she could never get through a tenant meeting without Oreos. 15 minutes later, Mom is sitting on the living room floor, writing furiously as everyone takes turns saying that the elevator is dirty and the dryer in the basement melted somebody's elastic waist pants. I lean against the wall in the hallway and watch her hold up her one finger to signal Mrs. Bindocker to slow down. Bindocker to slow down. Once Mrs. Bindocker gets going, not even Mom's shorthand can keep up with her. Mom cried the first time she saw our apartment. The whole place was filthy, she says. The wood floors were practically black, and the windows were caked with dirt, and the walls were smeared with something she didn't even want to think about. Always in those same words. I was there that day in a little bucket seat baby carrier. It was cold out, and she had a new coat on. There were no hangers in the closets, and she didn't want to put the coat down on the dirty floor or drape it over one of the peeling, hissing radiators. So she carried it while she went from room to room, telling herself it wasn't so awful. At this point in the story, I used to try to think of some place she could have put her coat if only she had thought of it. Why didn't you drape it over the rod in the hall closet? I asked. Dusty, she'd say. On the windowsill in the kitchen? Dusty. What about over the top of the bedroom door? Couldn't reach, she'd say. And dusty. What Mom did that day almost 12 years ago was put her coat back on, pick up my bucket seat, and walk to a store where she bought a mop, some soap, garbage bags, and a roll of sticky shelf paper, sponges, a bottle of window spray, and paper towels. Back home, she dumped everything out on the floor. Then she folded her coat and slid it into the empty bag from the store. She hung the bag on the doorknob and cleaned the apartment all afternoon. I knew enough, she says, to snuggle down in my bucket seat and take a very long nap. She met Louisa, who didn't have a husband either, in the lobby on the first day. They were both taking garbage to the big cans out front. Louisa was holding Sal. Sal had been crying, but when he saw me, he stopped. I know all of this because I used to ask to hear the story over and over, the story of the day I met Sal. Things that kick. Losing Sal was like a long list of bad things, and somewhere in the top half of the list was the fact that I had to walk home alone past the crazy guy on our corner. He showed up around the beginning of the school year when Sal and I walked home from school together. A few kids called him Quack, short for Quackers, or they called him Kicker because he used to do those sudden kicks into the street like he was trying to punt one of the cars speeding up Amsterdam Avenue. Sometimes he shook his fist at the sky and yelled crazy stuff like, "What's the burn scale? Where's the dome?" And then he threw his head back and laughed these loud, crazy laughs so everyone could see that he had about 30 fillings in his teeth, and he was always on our corner, sometimes sleeping with his head under the mailbox. "Don't call him Quack," Mom said. "That's an awful name for a human being. Even a human being who's Quackers? I don't care. It's still awful." "Well, what do you call him?" "I don't call him anything," she said, "but I think of him as the laughing man." Back when I still walked home with Sal, it was easier to pretend that the laughing man didn't scare me because Sal was pretending too. He tried not to show it, but he freaked when he saw the laughing man shaking his fist at the sky and kicking his leg out into traffic. I could tell by the way Sal's face kind of froze. I know all of those expressions. I used to think of Sal as being a part of me. Sal and Miranda, Miranda and Sal. I knew he wasn't ready, but that's the way it felt. When we were too little for school, Sal and Miranda, where am I? When we were too little for school, Sal and I went to daycare together at a lady's apartment down the block. She had picked up carpet samples at a store on Amsterdam Avenue and written the kids' names on the backs. After lunch, she'd pass out these carpet squares, and we'd pick our spots on the living room floor for nap time. Sal and I always lined ours up to make a rectangle. One time, when Sal had a fever and Louisa had called in sick to her job and kept him home, the daycare lady handed me my carpet square at nap time, and then a second later, she gave me Sal's too. I know how it is, baby, she said, and then I lay on her floor, not sleeping because Sal wasn't there to press his foot against mine. When he first showed up on our corner last fall, the laughing man was always mumbling under his breath. Book bag, pocket shoe, book bag, pocket shoe. He said it like a chant. Book bag, pocket shoe, book bag, pocket shoe. And sometimes he would be hitting himself on the head with his fist. Sal and I usually tried to get really interested in our conversation and act like we didn't notice. It's crazy the things a person can pretend not to notice. Why do you think he sleeps like that with his head bent under the mailbox? I asked Richard back when the laughing man was brand new and I was still trying to figure him out. I don't know, Richard said, looking up from the paper. Maybe so nobody steps on his head? Very funny. And what's a pocket shoe anyway? Pocket shoe, he said, looking serious. Noun. An extra shoe you keep in your pocket in case someone steals one of yours while you're asleep with your head under the mailbox. Ha ha ha, I said. Oh, Mr. Perfect, Mom said. You and your amazing dictionary head. She was in one of her good moods that day. Richard tapped his right knee and went back to the newspaper. I'll do one more chapter. Things that get tangled. Lucky for Mom, some of the old people at the nursing home where Louisa works like to watch the $20,000 pyramid at lunchtime. Louisa takes notes on every show and brings them over after work. She gets off at 4, so I have time to write out the day's words on stolen index cards before Mom gets home. Tonight, Mom and Richard are practicing in the living room. I'm supposed to be doing homework in my room, but instead I'm tying knots and I'm thinking. It was Richard who taught me how to tie knots. He learned back when he sailed boats as a kid, and he still carries pieces of rope in his briefcase. He says that when he's trying to solve a problem at work, he takes out the ropes, ties them into knots, unties them, and then ties them again. It gets him in the right frame of mind. 2 Christmases ago, which was his first Christmas with us, Richard gave me my own set of ropes and started showing me knots. Now I can make every knot he knows, even the clove hitch, which I did backward for a few months before I got it right. So I am tying and untying knots and seeing if it helps me solve my problem, which is you. I have no idea what you expect from me. If you just wanted to know what happened that day this past winter, it would be easy. Not fun, but easy. But that's not what your note says. It says to write down the story of what happened and everything that led up to it. And as my mom likes to say, that's a whole different bucket of poop. Except she doesn't use the word poop. Because even if you were still here, even if I did decide to write the letter, I wouldn't know where to start. The day the laughing man showed up on our corner, the day Mom and Louisa met in the lobby, the day I found your first note, there is no answer. But if someone sat on my legs and forced me to name the day the whole true story began, I would say it was the day Sal got punched. And we will end there on page 20.